The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told Parliament that his government is working to protect citizens from the impact of the Middle East conflict. His first public comments on the war come amid concerns over oil and gas supply disruptions and potential risks to Indian agriculture. One exporters group says that the rice shipments are being held up, fueling concerns about longer-term crop production in a country that's heavily reliant on fertilizer imports. Neha Poonia files this report for CNA from New Delhi.
This was supposed to be a bumper year for Indian rice exports, coming off the back of a strong harvest. But with the Iran war ongoing, hundreds of thousands of tons of stock is said to be stuck at ports and at sea. India is the world's largest grower and exporter of rice, accounting for around 40% of global exports. It shipped about 6 million tons of aromatic long-grain basmati variety last fiscal, much of that destined for the Middle East.
400,000 tons figure that is stuck currently. Many consignment will still come back from the seas, but then the figure of 400,000 means roughly around $1,000 per ton.
A bulk of India's basmati exports also go to Iran. The federation, which represents 7,000 rice exporters, says the war has also meant that costs are mounting and no new orders are coming in.
We have taken up with the government to see that unjustified increases or new surcharges are not levied by shipping lines.
Basmati rice is a staple in Middle Eastern and South Asian cuisines. The demand usually increases during Ramadan, but not this year. Instead, the shipping disruption, the Federation says, has caused prices in the local markets to dip by 10%. This is one of India's largest rice grain markets, and traders are telling me that they're worried if those tens of thousands of consignments of Indian rice don't reach their eventual destinations, their operations could be impacted. They're worried that some of those consignments could be offloaded into the domestic market, which could lead to a supply glut and force prices here to crash. Virender Kumar is a rice exporter who sends the grain to Mexico and Russia and also sells domestically.
Profit तो इस बार तो खत्म ही हो गया. Profit क्या कहाँ है? Profit तो no chance. Profit तो है. Profit तो already गिर गए. Rate युद्ध होते ही चीजें गिर गई हैं. उतने rate गिर गए हैं वो down हो गए. सब चीज़. Profit का तो chance है. ये है कि नुकसान ना हो ज़्यादा वो बचाव हो जाएगा हमारा.
There are also concerns the war could hurt India's fertilizer supply. Once the winter crop is harvested, millions of farmers across the country will start preparing fields like this one for the next round of sowing for crops like corn, cotton, oilseeds and rice. And to do that, they will need access to fertilizers. Now, a bulk of India's urea imports, its most widely used fertilizer, comes from Gulf nations like Oman, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE. India also uses liquefied natural gas to make some urea at home, and just under half of India's LNG supply comes from Qatar, whose export capacity has been disrupted by Iranian attacks. The Indian government says it has sufficient fertilizer stocks for the upcoming sowing season and is looking at alternative sources to ensure continued supply in the future.
सरकार ने बीते सालों में आपात स्थिति से निपटने के लिए खाद की पर्याप्त व्यवस्था भी की है. अतीत में भी हमारी सरकार ने दुनिया के संकटों का बोझ किसानों पर नहीं पड़ने दिया था.
Experts are calling on the government to consider organic options.
In terms of shifting the government priorities from augmenting chemical fertilizers to organic fertilizers, I think this will be more sustainable and independent of the war or any other international developments.
New Delhi has prioritized gas supply for domestic fertilizer plants and allocated an additional $2 billion in subsidies for farmers. It says that extra spending will not affect its fiscal deficit target, but experts warn that if the war drags on, India will need to navigate the situation carefully to protect not just its exports, but also its food security. For CNA, I'm Neha Poonia in New Delhi.